You may feel yourself in this place, in this time. And as you do so, I want you to tell me the very first impressions that you have as you start to understand where you are.
I found myself outside the farm, backyard picket fence. And when I was asked to see an opening, I was walking to the portal, the circle of stones that we have here at the farm. And that circle of stones marks the place where I saw this tower of light, this light column. It came to our farm, I think it was 2011. And the light column was back and pulsing down onto the ground. And that was the light that I stepped into. And it seems a little like, well, it's beautiful. It's like a laser light show. And there's a lot of sparkles and swirling light. But the interesting sense that I have while I basically am floating in this light column, and it's so fun to think about, but it's like the Star Trek movies. And this light, Venus light column, is a living consciousness. And it has the capability of transporting me anywhere I want to go. And I already know where I want to go to begin with, because before we started the session, we talked about what we wanted to explore. And it is December 2020, and the world has become a completely different place. And there's questions about that, and questions about America and America's beginning.
So would you like to step fully into that light and let it transport you exactly where you need to be?
Yeah.
Okay, so please do that. Where is this light taking you?
In the induction, we mention a connection of hearts. And in the induction, we mention a safe and sacred place. And even then, I felt myself as an observer of a gathering of men in the eastern part of America many years ago.
Would you like to tell me more about this gathering? Would you like to zoom in that event and describe me a little bit more about it?
Yes, actually, so it's not a single event, and the energies that are floating me to this place are asking me actually to not focus in on particular personalities or characters. This is so fascinating.
Okay, so we will just be
the energy is having me like float just above the planet to where the collective human aura exists. I'm not sure I've heard of the collective human aura before, but this is where I am.
Let's explore it then.
Yes. So the collective human aura circles the planet like an atmosphere, energy, like you would expect, like any aura around any living creature or human. But this collective human aura is focused. This is colonial America time, and what I'm sensing and what I am observing is the energetic aspects of primarily the eastern seaboard of America. And what I'm understanding, and is what is being shown to me right now, is that this group of humans who focused upon freedom, genuine freedom, with a genuine ability to determine the way they want to live their own lives without being controlled, manipulated by an outside power structure. And what I'm seeing and understanding as I'm sort of floating in this light and in this energetic aura of humanity is that these humans were connecting their hearts at this time and their intentions. And they were yearning to be completely and truly free. And they gathered in small groups and in the communication of the time, in some letters, in a very sacred, prayerful way. They were reaching, yearning, manifesting, and asking for guidance to create a new way of truly free life for humanity, but for the collection of humanity that was declared there as they were declaring their independence from freedom, from control. They were declaring their freedom and declaring their independence. And they asked for guidance. And it was because of their connection of their hearts to each other and their clear, focused intention for freedom to determine their own life, that they were able to connect with energetic forces beyond what was typically available for the humans at that time.
Would it be appropriate to explore these forces that they connected with at that time?
Yes, they're very pure.
Mm-hmm.
They're very pure, cosmic, original life force, heart-centered forces that come straight from Source itself.
I get goosebumps. Do we have a label on Earth for these energy expressions, these beings?
Different cultures have different labels, but it's direct, direct to Source, direct to God for others, direct to One for others. It's all the same thing. Life wants, yearns, and needs to be free. It must expand. It must not be contained. It must not be shackled and held down.
And how did these beings assist?
I see the guides and the angels and the higher selves of the colonial revolutionaries in America gathering and assisting in bringing forth inspiration, focus. The light was bringing courage where forces of others were determined to hold them down. The connection of the colonials to the forces of freedom overcame any impetus to keep themselves quiet and complicit, and allowed themselves to connect with the greater forces, the greater cosmic forces that they truly only knew as their God-given yearning for freedom. And it was their line in the sand, as it were. They were willing to give up everything for this freedom. And I am buzzing all over as they allowed their connection. See what I'm seeing though, and what I perhaps didn't understand as a schoolgirl right now looking at this, was that their hearts were connected and their intention was laser focused on freedom. And they came together with determination and looked upon their oppressors, and with a very simple statements of, we will not comply with your demands. We will be free. And this is America. It is this yearning for freedom, this energetic component that was beamed to this part of Earth, this planet, but this part of Earth in the most purely sacred way ever. This is why the entire world looks to America to be free, even though we know America right now, and for a very long time, has been anything but completely free. It is still a place that has the connection, the cosmic connection, the focus and the intention that can produce and create true freedom for the human. And what I know now about myself is that when that beautiful column of light, that mysterious, beautiful column of light that I witnessed come from the heavens to this place here in Kansas, the heartland of America. And I knew that I needed to be here for a long time, for the long haul. I didn't know completely why. I mean, I knew my family was here, but I know so much more now. I know that the ancient seabeds that are below the land here, the prairie, the ancient salt seabeds, the crystalline forms of that salt amplify some of this energetic connection to some of the sacred energy of freedom. This sacred heart energy that is amplifying. The heart yearns to be free. And this is the heartland of America. America is the world's heart, yearning to be free.
Is that why the battle is being played out once again?
Yes.
In the United States.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I'm still sort of drifting in the energy above the planet, above the aura. It's the collective human aura. It's the collective human heart energy but also solar plexus energy, the middle, the center. The heart and the solar plexus are not far from each other. They're right next to each other in the human energy system for a reason.
Yeah.
Self-determination needs to be very close to the heart. And that's what's happening here. And this is, make no doubt about it, this is the second American Revolution. It's just happening in a completely different way.
Mm-hmm.
And it is calling upon each individual who hears and feels the yearning to be free in a way that was different from our forefathers. This is not with muskets.
Why is it different this time?
Because it's not with soldiers in uniforms with muskets on a battlefield. It's not the same focus. It's the same battle. It's for the same energetic reasons. But we, meaning people such as myself, who's now, a grandmother, a woman who's very much at home a lot, taking care of my own father and the other family members, but also my own community. I'm not outside holding a musket or a gun, or in a trench, or riding a horse in a charge of a battle in that way. And yet the battle is absolutely raging right now. The battle is energetic. The battle is for our hearts and for freedom and for our voices to be heard. And just as the original revolutionaries fought for all of the colonists who weren't directly in battle, so America right now fights for freedom, self-determination, and independence for the entire world. Each individual in America can and is being called to join that fight for freedom and independence in this way, by aligning hearts, by focus and intention. It's the energetic fight, if you will. It's the energetic yearning, understanding, and reaching for love, independence, and freedom for every individual, for self-determination, not for determination imposed upon us by others.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to ask if we can connect with Candace's original life force energy, the energy that takes care of her body.
Yes, and I'm pleased to be called Candace's original life force energy. This is a more appropriate, possibly the most appropriate label to be used to speak to this energy. And what I would like Candace to know is that the freedom aspect is the number one determining aspect of your specific, unique energy configuration for your life now as the human named Candace. This freedom component within your specific energetic makeup has been a part of what you might have considered your personality structure from the time you were very small. This part of you that absolutely, unequivocally demands freedom. There is nothing more important than this. And absolutely for you as a child, this might have had to do with climbing over crib bars or outside of playpens. For you as a young child, it was getting on a horse as soon as possible and riding as fast as possible, running as fast as you could in the wind, continuing your love of this freedom of moving through space. this has been your energy quirk of not liking shoes or tight clothes. Everything about you screams freedom. It has been this way in your relationships, in your work life, in your life as a teacher now. As your life as a teacher now in helping other practitioners be the free individuals that they yearn to be. This is imbued in everything about you. And so, of course, what is happening here now in this country, in this world, has brought every cell of your being online and at the ready, because this is what you were born for.
Is it connected to her decision to come at this time?
Oh, absolutely. But it's not just hers. I, as Candace's original life force energy, am connected to all life force energy. And as we had split like the giant firework in the sky to come to the planet at this time, each human on the planet has, if you will, a spark of this in them. Some have far more of the energy component in them. Those are the ones who have the voices or the energetics or step forth or become the determinators or the leaders. But each of you, to the smallest infant, to the oldest and most feeble among you, to the most mentally and physically challenged beings who are on this planet at this time, each of you have this spark within you in some way, in some form or another. If you did not have this spark, you would not be here now.
Yeah.
You could not be here now. This is the energetic requirement to be on the planet at this time.
And I guess this is our natural state, our birthright, our trademark.
Yes.
To be free.
Yeah. And as we come to the planet and separated from each other, we knew that we would have to discover this in each of ourselves, in each of our own individual way. And some, perhaps many still on the planet, have this spark, shall we say, so deep within them that they may not even truly believe it or know that it's there. They may not quite yet know that it's there. They may feel it stirring within them. And if they focus upon it, it will grow. And this spark will grow brighter. The light will grow brighter within them, and they will then connect with others. And then that will continue, that chain of connecting lights, connecting hearts, connecting intention and focus will continue in a beautiful, oh my God, hurrah.
What do you see?
This is the flash. This is the flash. The flash. It's the spark within each of us.
Wow. So we are doing it.
Within each of us, if we can feel that light, the light, and you saw, I think that it is even connected to the light flash that you saw, you know? If the light is being flashed and connected between each of us in this way, yes. And when we feel it within ourselves,
yes, it makes so much sense. Absolutely, yes. Because it's us that we are doing it, right? It doesn't come from outside. This is so beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. I love it. I would like to ask you, why did Candace see you show to her that same situation in the United States in the past? I wonder if it's because we are in the same situation right now, or if also she was part of that group.
Oh yes, she was alive then. She's been wondering this, actually. She's been wondering this. And so, and Dolores has shown up because Yeah, Dolores is standing by at the ready. She's sort of nodding her head, but she's not quite ready to speak. So Candace was, she's seeing herself now as one of her own ancestors. So she is seeing herself as one of her own ancestors in the New York area. Thankful.
Thankful.
Thankful. Her name is Thankful.
How beautiful. What was her role at that time?
She was a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Candace has been in almost every generation since.
Wow.
Almost every generation of Americans since the early colonial days.
Mm.
And most times as a woman. And she's seeing herself right now as a woman wearing pale blue, standing near a fireplace with her hands next to her face in prayer. And she's feeling very helpless while her family members are holding the line.
What do you mean?
She's the woman asked to stay home while the fighting and the determination is made by others.
Okay.
And Candace knew that in this life, she set herself up to once again focus upon freedom, once again being woman, but giving herself the challenge to be on the front lines, if you were, in a different way. Not as a soldier with a uniform.
I guess it's not a coincidence that she's choosing female bodies. She prefers female bodies. Would you like to explain why?
Interestingly enough, her driving energetic force is completely male. Mm-hmm. But to inject this driving energetic force into the female body, into the female personality, into the female aspect is particularly challenging.
Yeah.
It's always been particularly challenging. And in this particular life, she has set herself up with even the greater challenge of seeing her father as the warrior, her husband as the warrior, her father-in-law as the warrior, her now son-in-law as the warrior, all of them military or ex-military. And yet the warrior, the spiritual warrior energy within her is incredibly strong. She is simply being asked to access and direct that energy in a completely different way.
That's why it was so frustrating for her in the first years.
Yes. And she had no capacity to understand this.
Yeah.
She, the only reference point she had was sort of the old style feminist energy. But that was co-opted and bastardized and taken over, as so many of your movements are. But nevertheless, she's remained truthful to the spark and the energy within her. And within the latter part of her life, particularly with you, beautiful Hara, and her colleagues in the Quantum Healers community, and particularly those who practice the very free aspect of quantum healing, of BQH, delving into understanding what true freedom is. She has completed one of her original goals in her life by bringing this resource to practitioners, and through those practitioners, through to them, to their clients, understanding their own strengths and unique capabilities, and in particular, and And she hopes their own understanding of their individual aspects also needing to be free to express themselves in the way in which they've come to this planet to do so.
Mm. So she's understanding her role, her purpose in a whole different way now.
Yes.
More clean, more deep.
Yes, and it makes so much sense because she's in her professional life, when she was silenced and hidden and deleted across various platforms, she was given a taste of what so many are experiencing now: censorship and controlling of communication cannot be allowed to stand. My cat seems to agree.
They are also one of the most free spirits, felines.
Indeed.
Yeah. That's why we love them.
Indeed.
Because they remind us of that. Would you like to talk to her about her Orion warrior aspect?
Yes.
I think it ties into all
Yes.
I've been talking about.
Yes. When Candace first met the Orion aspect in a session a number of years ago, she saw him as he exists in his timeline today, a warrior, a physical warrior, very busy in the Orion Wars, very physical, outward male expression, warrior, very protective, but also I wonder if the Lyrans want to come in.
I had the same thought. They're definitely close.
Right, because the lions, I have a lion aspect here at the farm, and it's like the pot being stirred, right?
Mm-hmm.
The energetic pot is being stirred, and this cat that is making noise right now, this beautiful cat, she's actually still mostly feral. She's missing so many of her teeth, and she is being lovingly cared for indoors right now. But she still has her yearnings and expressions.
So I just wanted to ask you, would you like to continue telling her about her Orion?
Yes, the Orion aspect. What is important about the Orion aspect is that when she has felt worn, her energy has felt worn down.
You mean in this life?
Yes, and that happens for a variety of reasons, including obligations, family obligations, work obligations, particularly where she is so often caring for basically multitudes. She does not just care for herself. She cares for her family. She cares for her extended family. She cares for her practitioners. She cares for her community. She cares for her animals. She cares for so many depend upon her. And her physical form does get tired. And when she becomes quiet and reaches in for strength, not only to continue to care for those who depend upon her, but to continue to protect the aspect of her that knows it must protect and encourage the yearning for freedom. It is with that Orion aspect that she connects to gain strength. He's an imposing figure, towering, huge, muscular man. He kind of almost looks like a Viking. It's the best translation of an image that she's able to sort of see, is a sort of giant Viking-like presence who must call upon and within himself a almost primal force when called to battle. But what Candace needs to understand about this Orion aspect is there are many within the Orion culture who were on what we might think of as the service to self or the dark side.
Yes.
In this particular aspect of Candace, this Orion aspect of Candace, was an outlier, and who turned, whose original training was on that side, and who had a heart connection and an epiphany and an energetic understanding of it is of the heart space, and the understanding that it is the individual who needed freedom and not the opposing and the oppressing forces where salvation was promised, but with the individual. And when this Orion aspect had to go within himself to find that space and that spark within his heart, he was connecting with the original life force energy of the female aspects of Candace, who were incarnating upon the planet Earth, doing the only thing they knew and could do, which was to connect with the freedom aspect within themselves as the female expression upon planet Earth at this time. And the female heart, human expression connected to the Orion warrior aspect is completion and brings a wholeness and an amplification of that spark of freedom that is driving life force energy within her.
Yes, it makes so much sense. Thank you very much for clarifying all this. Is there anything else she should know about this aspect of her?
Yes, they meditate together. When she imagines that it's so, it is so. He still meditates upon his heart space and his feminine aspect at the same time that she meditates upon her masculine self and the yang aspect that is the self-determinating defender of freedom within her as a female human.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why she will not wear a mask, and never has, and will not, and refuses to comply.
What just came in my mind, and I will just say it out loud, is Trump. And I'm going to ask if he in any way, or his oversoul, are connected to that energy in any way.
Yes. And from the perspective that I, as Candace's original life force energy, can comment upon this, it is unclear whether or not he realizes this himself.
His mind, you mean it?
His original life force energy is very much invested in the second revolution in America.
Mm-hmm.
Candace had a dream probably a year and a half ago now. It's quite surprising to her. She paid absolutely no attention to politics or Trump or any of it whatsoever. She was aware of what it was going on, but she paid absolutely no attention to it energetically or the details of this. And she had a dream. And in this dream, and she knew and does know, it was very significant. She dreamed that the president came to her father's home, where she was there in the dream visiting, and he came up to the door, and when she went to the door and she saw him, the mere presence of him threw her into a lucid dream. She knew she was dreaming then because, well, of course, why would this man have shown up to her father's door in Kansas? So she opened the door, and stunned, he walked in, and the first thing this man did was he turned to my father, who was in his chair by the door, and he put his hand out to my father, who was a Purple Heart veteran, United States Air Force pilot who was shot down in Vietnam, nearly lost his life, lost many of his friends, who who absolutely saw through the farce of that war, and who came home and told tales to his family and to others, some who didn't understand. I certainly didn't understand. I didn't understand what he meant by the fact, and I'm talking about my father, that he was set up, that he and his fellow airmen were set up in this war to be killed. He couldn't understand why they would be set up. But he, to this day, can talk to you about this, even though his mind is leaving him. To this day, he can talk to you about not understanding why, because he saw through it all. He saw through it all. He didn't understand the whys of it, but he saw that he was set up and that others were set up. Mm-hmm. He didn't understand the war. He didn't understand it, but he fought it because his country asked him to. And when the president walked through the door in this dream, he held his hand out to my father. And my father stood up and he shook his hand and he said, "Thank you, sir, for your service to this country." And the deep love and respect and admiration that he had for my father was astonishing. My jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe what I was watching. At the time of this dream, I saw this man as a reality TV star and a buffoon. That's who I thought he was. And I paid no attention to him. I did know that I was pleased that he had taken leadership of the country over the opposing side, shall we say, because with that side I saw only evil. But I did not think of him as anything other than a reality TV star until that dream, until that moment. And when he was done shaking my father's hand, and I know I've turned to the perspective of Candace here, but it is the higher original life force energy that is directing this memory here. Mm-hmm. Because I am wanting Candace to see a deeper part of this dream, this lucid dream, but for communication's sake, she has stepped back into the dreaming body to relay what happened in the dream. So after the president shook my father's hand, Dad sat back down and didn't even pay any attention to him. And I'm looking at, Trump standing there in my dad's living room. And he very politely says, "May I speak with you in the other room?" And I just was floored. I couldn't imagine what was going to happen next. And I said, of course. It was very polite. And we walked through the kitchen into the living room and we sat down. And he smiled the biggest smile at me, and his eyes were twinkling and his hair was sparkling. And at that moment, he morphed. He changed from the being that we now know as President Trump in 2020. And there was a young man sitting there. And this young man had dark hair and blue eye, but he had the same smile, kind of a big smile and sparkles in his eyes, but he was a completely different being. And he looked at me and he wanted me to see him morph. He morphed, and he introduced himself, and he said that he was a future aspect of Trump who had traveled in time from the future, and he came to me and had a request. And it is at that point where my dreaming self almost melds with this aspect, almost like back to the Star Trek analogy, almost like a mind meld with this aspect, because the communication no longer was verbal, and it became basically a information download interface. And primarily my understanding upon wakening after this dream was that I was to share my dreams more publicly. Those dreams have come in mostly two different ways. My dreams of Dolores Cannon, and my dreams of the man with the head of a sun. And that is what I was asked to do. So what the original life force energy of Candace is now speaking. Each of you on the planet now simply must understand what your mission is at this time on the planet, your original life force energy mission. It is different for all of you. Just as your Orion aspect is the male outward defending aspect, warrior aspect, doing his part in his energetic space in the cosmic realm. So Candace is in the quantum healing aspect of tapping into the energy, the dream world energy, but also into the healing energy, the quantum healing energy that is moving up to a different octave. And this is where I'm feeling Dolores' presence.
Me too.
Really stepping forward.
Me too. It's already.
Yeah.
I felt her almost speaking through you.
Yeah.
With you. Yes. So hello, Dolores. Thank you very much for coming.
There's that cat again. There's no place even to push that cat off because she's in this room. It's the only place she can be. She's been so quiet for so long. The energies, of course, are huge, and she's feeling them. And I hope it's not disturbing to those who may be listening to this in the future. Please know it's not disturbing me at all. I'm comforted. Okay, Dolores is now stepping forth. She's laughing because she's said this before. She didn't have many pets. She didn't have many pets as Dolores Cannon, the human, but she gets to enjoy them in a different way from her presence right now. And here's Dolores, and yeah, I will listen to her and tell you what she says, but she won't speak through me. She doesn't like to do that, and I don't like to do that either. I can hear what she says, and I can tell you what she says. Dolores will remind me, although I don't need reminding, she's doing this for communication's sake, that she likes this form of communication best, which might be known as trans channeling and not trance channeling. She prefers to be heard and be heard by the conscious mind and then related in that way rather than speak through the human vessel.
I understand that.
Yes. So Dolores is saying, well, the first thing she's showing me is she's showing me like a repeated aspect of herself, kind of like when you see a mirror within a mirror within a mirror. She's showing that aspects of herself are connecting with many quantum healers all over the planet, some of whom don't even know who she is. Her energy may come in some slightly different ways to them to be accepted, but she is here to usher in and accompany us as quantum healers as we move to the next phase of quantum healing. It must change as we change. It is changing now. We are on the cusp, and while many traditional and conventional ways, if conventional can be used in this realm of regression work and past life regression and quantum healing, can still be effective. There are many new ways out there. She wants quantum healers to be open-minded and to check in with their own internal original life force energy, and she's saying it can be as simple as following your own passions. What are you passionate about? If you're passionate about a certain aspect of healing, or if something new has come along that has caught your eye, that stirs your deep interest and passion, that is that spark that tells you that this is beneficial to explore and to consider adding to your toolbox as a healer, and to not be afraid. She says, don't be afraid. She said, I was not afraid. Those who have no fear, or she actually corrects herself. She says, she says it's only natural to have a little bit of fear. She says you can imagine that little bit of fear as a voice inside of you. And you can imagine that as a small child, that you can comfort briefly and carry on. And just pull up your big girl pants, she says, and carry on. And that's how you deal with your fear. You don't give in. It's just like you wouldn't give in to a toddler who is afraid of something they didn't understand. When you feel that within yourself, that is a way of addressing your own fears.
Is there anything that she would like to comment on our current situation worldwide, if it's appropriate, if she wants to share anything?
I'm hearing her say, it is easy for some to go their own way. I'm hearing her say, in my life, I went my own way. It was the only way I knew how to do. It was the only way I could do. For some of you out there, it is the same. But for many who are just waking up to the spark of independence and freedom within them, this might feel very new and uncomfortable, because many of these people have only felt safe when they have followed the paths that others have laid out in front of them. It is still up to the individual to make that decision. But as more and more people follow their light and their spark, their path will be illuminated, and it will become easier for them to. She's showing me. So she's actually showing me many things like a road with a race car, and a road with a horse running down it, and a road with a bicycle going down it. And then she's also showing me like a sidewalk with a little tiny red tricycle. And she's showing me, she's like, some of you might want to just start with the tricycle. Okay. She says, that's okay. You know, and these roads are kind of, they're almost all superimposed or right next to each other. So as more and more individuals take their road, go down their road, it becomes easier for the others. And this is what we call the Great Awakening.
As you say that, I got reminded of a dream that Candance had, and I had the almost same dream of Dolores being a bus and having many people on board.
Which was just yesterday. And Dolores is actually laughing. She's saying, would it surprise you if I told you had this dream a lot, and many days you don't even remember this dream, but you have it a lot, and other people out there having similar dreams of gathering and moving, and it is translations of the cosmic energies upon us, of course.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to add? I feel that she has something more to say.
I'm seeing her. Well, I'm seeing her sort of replicate herself, and it's interesting. She seems to be presenting in a way that seems sort of like the preschool, the unflappable preschool teacher who is just not going to be bothered much, and who is gathering around a lot of the little red tricycles. It seems to me like she's suggesting that those who find themselves weary, fearful, unsure, feel themselves energetically request assistance from her and from others out there. And the simple act of requesting from your own guides and from your own original life force energy, your own God aspect, your own angels, you can use whatever term you want, will help you through these times. She's being very stern now too, though. She's saying, look, don't waste this opportunity. You are extremely fortunate to have been born at this time. Beyond all that, the cosmic alignments were just perfect so that you could be. That there are vast numbers of other beings who would trade places with you in a heartbeat, just to be witness to the transformation taking place right before your very eyes.
It's huge, yeah.
And this is why you were born. For these moments, this was why you were born.
Yeah.
And to keep that in mind, that the great moments of history that you always thought you've read in history books in your comfort of your very cushy lives, these are the moments in history books that will be written about in the future. Who do you want to be in this time? The choice is yours. You can make that choice now. You need to make that choice now. Connect with others. Feel supported by others who understand. Know that there is support behind you. And step into the role that you were born for. And for many of you, it's different. This doesn't mean each of you have the same role. Many of your roles are simply energetic and very quiet, but your energy matters. Focus and connect with others who have the same intention. She's really, and my original life force energy, they're coming together to say this is so much like what we do with the BQH sessions. We have this protocol where we focus upon the heart, where we focus upon a very specific intention, and where we gather our teams, and then we just do it.
Yeah.
We don't wait anymore. We just do it. And we're not waiting around anymore. It's time to do it. And that do may be different for many beings, right? That do simply may be comforting somebody in a different way, or showing up for someone energetically, or assisting someone in a different way, or simply sending out positive energy. There are many ways and many roles, but none of them are descent into fear, and none of them are descent into control by others. None of them.
Yeah, and on that she referred to the word focus many times. I guess it's it's very important.
Yes, and social media and others, particularly mainstream media, government forces are trying to distract you in many ways so that you cannot have focus, so that they disrupt your focus.
And they have successfully done so in the spiritual community, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In many communities.
Okay, can we move on to another subject? And I
Yes.
think there was one subject that Candace wanted to explore. I will just mention it, and if you think that it's appropriate, we can explore it, about the US Constitution. There's anything that needs to be said about it. She was wondering if it is some way sacred document.
Yes, but it's primarily the Declaration of Independence that is the heart. And we spoke of this earlier. The Declaration of Independence itself is an absolutely inspired sacred document. It channeled information, if you will, through the beings onto paper. The Constitution itself has been in its own battle and has been burdened over the years and attacked and needs an infusion of light. The Constitution at its base and its core is one of the finest ever written in human history. And yet, with your expansion of humanity moving through the transformation, right now, an upgrade or a realignment of the Constitution would be most beneficial. And with the right light forces involved, there is every opportunity and every reason to believe that this can be achieved, not by dismantling it, not by severe changes, simply by realigning, refocusing, recommitting to freedom, self-determination, and autonomy for all.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else that needs to come through?
Yes, a statement on forgiveness. Remember to continually forgive the being in front of you who may not be in the same state of awareness and awakenedness as you. What is becoming very, very clear right now is even some beings who many humans have looked up to as being very awake and very clear are not. It's very clear that even within the spiritual and metaphysical community, that forgiveness must be made available and offered, and not more division. Right, understanding, focus upon what's important, what we've talked about earlier for you. And when you have opportunity to interact or observe others whose focus is not the same, don't react with lower energies. React with understanding, compassion, forgiveness, and with imagining more clarity and focus to come to them eventually as well, to where we all are absolutely united as one for freedom for the individual. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
And yet so powerful, right?
Yeah. United we can all be as one for freedoms for the individuals. Freedoms for the individuals cannot be taken away. That's called control. And that moves away from being united as one.
Okay, wonderful. And is there any closing message for her or for anyone else?
I simply feel a big message from all of the felines here to you, Hara. There's such feline energy around you, around me, and obviously even in this session with we were lucky only one cat was going off. There was two in here. But feline, yeah, there's like a PS from the Feline Collective. And I'm getting this very independent presence of a cat who's sort of looking at me, and there's this, it's sort of like a download of all of the things that you love, all of the things that you love about cats. Is very appropriate to think about here, and it's one of the reasons it was so stirred up in this energy. They're so loving, they're so intelligent, they are fiercely independent, and they need to be free, and you aren't going to force them to do anything, and you can't control them. Absolutely. And that's why we love them.
I wonder if we could perhaps connect with them in another session. And
absolutely. We would be most interested in communicating with you. It's like when you said that, it's like a chorus of lions, cats, jaguars, lion-headed beings, Lyran people, like they all just like stepped up into a great big chorus. And they're like, next time, we'll do it next time.
Okay. Family reunion, we have a date.
I love it.
Awesome. Okay. So I would like to thank you for bringing all this information, the healing, and your loving presence, your wisdom. I want to thank the life force energy of Candance, who is her natural self, and all the beings who assisted in our journey. Sending gratitude, love, and appreciation.